Hey guys, this is Roni K95 here, and once again, it is time for another manga reading log for the month of October for this time. Today, I'm going to be showcasing these manga books that I have read so far, which is part of my manga reading log. But there is also some manga that I had to read in English in a little perspective way to get things catered up, despite that I have been reading manga in Japanese as well, because I'm going to be showcasing about how many manga books I picked from my manga collection so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I picked about 6 of those from my manga collection just to get heads up starter as well. And there's going to be newer ones as well, and it's going to be more differences from the manga though as well. The first manga that I had to start reading particularly though is Dance Till Tomorrow. This is actually the manga that I just read as well, because I have never actually heard of Dance Till Tomorrow until now, because this was done by mangaka artist Naoki Yamamoto as well. This manga basically tells a story about Suikichi, who is inherited with her great-grandfather's stamp collection when his lawyer wanted to know its worth of millions, how he could have collect. So when she must graduate, when she marry and get a job, and it's most likely it's considering how the lure of arts have been found in the off-campus bondage horse theater trope as well. Or is it something like visceral thrill of living of how is involuntary Rumi, who is like a cultured fugitive yakuza killer, and now his sometime girlfriend named Aya wanted to leave him for a more mature millionaire. Is it like more time of his age? That is the question, though. This is like your typical melodrama manga as well, particularly because this is actually my first manga from Naoki Yamamoto. I never know about this manga, despite that this is like a melodrama manga series on there as well, because there's some realistic plots on here of how, because I mean this manga is so tongue-in-cheek as well, I'd call it, and overall basically because I have never actually read something like this one that I have never heard of until now. Especially if you have never actually read this one. Yeah, because I know this has some moments as well. Another one recommended for mature readers. Well, I got a lot of manga, and yes, this manga was translated in English, by the way, and this was originally published in 1989 in Japan under Shogakukan as well. Yeah. I got a lot of those manga. Yeah. Because, what can I say? I wanted to check out a manga like this one as well. And next manga that I just read in English, despite that I have read a manga that is in Japanese that I'm currently reading, but it's going to be under my little perspective on how I can be a good manga reader, and that is The Return of Lum Yurusei Yatsura. What volume number is this? Oh yeah. Because I think This contains all the volumes from the original manga through, like, I believe, installments from Animerica from the first volumes through the 11th entirety. Most of it is basically translated in English, particularly, but this one includes the great chapter that I've noticed about of how it's more different than the anime on there. Because, however, in the Urusei Yatsura manga, Lum disguises as a schoolgirl, like an ordinary, typical school mate as well. Especially how this could have learned over the fact as well, in case you're wondering why as well. This is more different from the anime, which you have never found fondly as well. Of how I could come by on this as well. So this explains of how I wanted to come by on this one. Yeah, this was how, if it only was like this in the anime, but the manga tops it off as well. Particularly, yeah, because this is the old edition from Viz Media back in the day. Like, what was this? Oh yeah, this is a 1995 Viz Media release as well. Well, if this kind of looks like, if this is basically were, as it was to the if it wasn't for the anime as well. And on top of this, I think I'm starting to like the manga even more because of how unique of Rumiko Takahashi's art style in the manga as well, which is a lot more good thing to cater this off. Of how I can come by on this, particularly. Oh, like the love letter chapter, which I think this is also in the manga as well, which I didn't know about this, if particularly. Yeah, this is more different than the Japanese translated version of the original manga. Yeah. Including the diary of how it sets up Ataru's mind between Lum and Mendo in that one. Yeah. And this also includes another chapter that was featured in the manga, which is called Flying Start, which is the butterfly chapter, which it was included in the manga, but it was never in the anime, which is a lot more different, to be more starter to that. However, this was serialized also in the Animerica magazine back in the 90s, accordingly as well. From what I understand why, of how I come across on this as well. And this also includes the chapter, Since You Went Away chapter. I mean, this takes a lot more different in school, rather than at a at a restaurant place in the manga, than it was. More different from the anime. But in this one, it's more what you expect to find like this in the manga as well. Yeah, especially when it's more different than it was to the original anime as well. Particularly, especially of how this basically it has its moments in the manga, especially when Ataru was just all crying for Solemn when could have left when he realized that Lum has left Ataru with a doll in that one, which is basically in this chapter of the manga more different than the episode after you've gone from the Urusei Yatsura anime TV series, even though I've already finished watching the entire series through YouTube as well. But the manga is more different, particularly. Yeah, it has its moments in that chapter. Since you went away, it just this could have been like this if it only was like this for the manga, if it wasn't for the anime as well. Well, technically, of how this has a lot of difference in the manga as well. Well, I get to the thing that although I can read both English and Japanese on the Urusei Yatsura manga, though, because I'm starting to have another level of leaps and bounds of reading retrospective, or should I say, I would say reading perspective. Despite that I have started reading the original Urusei Yatsura manga, both English and Japanese, in a little more reading perspective certain way of all sorts as well. That's why. And another manga I have recently read for the first time that I have never read before, and this is the one that I just wanted to check out basically, and that is Bastard. This is from mangaka artist Kazushi Kagiwara. This is like a heavy metal dark fantasy manga on there. I mean, this basically, what I think of the manga Bastard, well, I really starting to get into the manga now, because most of those, like, band reference metal names on it, like Metallicana, which I think that's basically a reference to the legendary thrash metal group Metallica, as well as the name Dirk Schneider, which I think is a reference to Dirk Schneider, or whatever you want to pronounce, because, you know, the lead singer from the metal group Accept, which is known for the smash metal hit single Balls to the Wall. But in this one particularly, there's some RPGs on there, because this is how it's... I don't even know why that this series has been on hiatus for years after 27 volumes on here, but it never actually finished the manga as well, particularly. Because I've actually heard stories about the Bastard manga, because I'm starting getting into the manga on there. So, although we do got anime adaptations of the Bastard anime on there. First was being the OVA on there, and you also now got is the Netflix anime one that is now currently on Netflix on there. Because this explains of how I wanted to come by to discover something new. But I thought the manga, I'm fully hyped with how I'm getting into the Bastard manga series on there. Despite that this was on hiatus after, like, I believe 27 volumes were published in Japan, but never finished it, even if it was entirely. Because I don't know why. Well, that'll be a good answer to this as well. Because Although the original manga Bastard was published in Japan by a manga artist, Kazushi Hagiwara, as well. This basically explains how would I come by for this. And yes, this is a 2002 Viz Media release on there. In my opinion, I love the manga Bastard because I can put this right next to Berserk, which is one of my second favorites from, I believe, Kentaro Miura. Kazushi Hagiwara is my second favorite manga artist next to Kentaro Miura because I love this manga series. But I haven't seen, but I haven't never actually seen the Bastard anime series that is now on Netflix, but I thought the manga's new. Because I'm starting getting more into the manga though, because despite that I'm basically now a manga reader. Yeah, because I really love this manga as well. Because another one recommended to those who love older manga, because I have a feeling, because I'm gonna start to have a lot of those. That's why. Another manga that I just read here, and that is Shortcuts. Another manga, basically, about this. Basically, how it explains about how it's a fascination of how there's fanatically of how there's consumer culture named Kogal. Something of how when a particularly because I think this is from manga artist named Usamaru Furuya. Yeah, because I wanted to read something like this, and in my opinion, this is my third favorite manga on here, because this is one of the manga books that I wanted to start to become a manga reader, particularly. Yeah, because this is how unique how Usamaru Furuya's art style design for what the manga, particularly when he made Shortcuts manga, of how I wanted to come by on this. And technically, though, despite that, this is also being a manga. The weird thing is that the Shortcut System Part 2 chapter on there, it has a little, like, mailings on there. Look like a mailing ad on it, but it's only depicted in the chapter of the manga as well. Despite of how I wanted, if they would have basically known for nonetheless, they would have basically how I wanted to come by on a manga like this one, particularly, because it's basically from the work, because as well, because I'm start getting into becoming a manga reader, that's why. Another manga here, and that I recently read, that I'm basically reading on here, and that is Tagami Bachi Volume 10. I had to read this manga accordingly, though, is that this basically of how, where it's left off after Volumes 8 and 9, about how Lag Out Arya, Link, who's basically second in command at the Beehive, wanted to take over jobs by delivering those letters, even with Nietzsche on her side. When she finds out that the Amber Ground wanted to become a dangerous place, if she could defend herself, when it's armed nothing but a violin, meaning none of the less, of how her illness takes a strange turn, of how this happens in the Tagami Bachi Volume 10 manga as well. And finally, at last, another manga that I just wanted to read, and this is the biggest one of all manga, and that is another one that I have never actually read before until now, and this is Gundam the Origin. This is the old Viz Media edition on there. It's basically in a size like a tall, like magazine, like comic book format tall, but except it only has like chapters like these on here. I mean, if you ever love Gundam on here, Gundam the Origin is the perfect example of how it's started in the original Gundam series, of how the manga help you a lot more start as well, which is how it despite how it takes place in the Universal Century 0079, of how the origins depicted of how what Gundam the Origin had a lot to do, particularly, especially the Principality of Zeon and the mobile suit, especially the Gundam on that one. No other man would have known for this. It was basically how they wanted to come for this. Yeah, because I wanted to read this one for the first time as well. In my opinion, Gundam the Origin is my fourth favorite manga from manga artist Yoshikazu Yasuhiko as well. Well, this manga basically tells the origins of the Mobile Suit Gundam series on there, which I think this is part of the Gundam franchise, of how Gundam fans had a lot to do for it, particularly. And I come by for this as well because I wanted to read this one as well. What do I think of Gundam the Origin? I really loved it because this has got me to get into Gundam now. According to the fact that there is also the newer, despite that this is the old edition from Viz Media on here. Yeah, this is the 2003 Viz Media release of the Mobile Suit Gundam the Origin, or actually it says Gundam the Origin in this manga, if I'm not mistaken though. There's also these thick, newer editions of Gundam the Origin. I might as well upgrade to get those if I can ever get the chance to find them as well. Yeah. If you ever love Gundam, check out Gundam the Origin. I highly recommend you to check out Gundam the Origin as well. Well, particularly though, this has gotten to the point though of how I wanted to come by. I wanted to realize the fact of how I wanted to read something for a manga read for a change. Yeah, because I had to read 6 of those as well, because it's gotten to a point though is that I have really felt that I wanted to start reading something new for a change, especially for a manga reader that I'm like myself though, is that I have been discovering something new as well. Because most of this as well, to how this is not so hard after all, because I know I can do it whenever I can read something, whenever I can pick a manga to read on here for every manga reading log, especially for every month on there, which is not so hard anymore. Like, how did I own a lot of manga? Well, it's not that really picky to choose as well, especially whenever I can come by on to read manga as well. That's why, as how I understand why. Well, despite that I haven't been watching anime in a while though, despite my last anime I watched was Hoshin Engi series on there, which was back in a while back as well. So this explains why. It's caught on to a point though, is that where I felt that I wanted to, how I come by for to read a manga for a change as well. Well, that's pretty much what I can understand why, is that I wanted to realize that you could think for picking a manga to read as well. One thing about reading manga, it's basically of how you want to read something, especially if you ever wanted to be a manga reader, not just an anime watcher, but I have wanted to be more catered in with reading manga a lot more as well. So that's going to be it for my manga reading log for the month of October for today, you guys. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's what I'm going to say for this video. Well, even though I have been doing my previous manga reading log videos in the past, though, since April, this is the new one I wanted to check out, which I think this will definitely take the cake as how I can come by on this as well, of how you would know whatever I can be a manga reader on this of all sorts as well. That's why I have to read more manga more as well. Hope subscribe for content. My anime planet link in the description down below. Share this video on your Twitter and Facebook if you have Twitter and Facebook and all social media. If you want to check out my anime planet, link will be in the description down below, because I have a backlog of manga and anime. Patreon link will be in the description down below. Be sure to smack the like button if you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below on this video if you like as well. And also be sure to click on the subscribe button. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't been new to my channel particularly. Especially for watching the channel though, is that I'm started reading a lot of more manga and started to become more of a manga reader as well. And also be sure to smack the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified also as well for more latest updates on here as well. Keep it otaku for this video, because this is the first time I wanted to read 6 of these manga books that I picked from my manga collection for the month of October for the first time, because it's been a while since I have been doing my previous manga reading logs since April. That's why. This is Rurouni K95 saying thank you for watching my video. I'm glad you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you soon for the next video. Hope you have a great day. This is Rurouni K95 signing off, and thank you for watching my video. And I will see you soon for more videos. Take care. Bye.